All right, I think we are ready to start. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the incoming kindergarten information night. We're so excited that your children will be starting with us in the fall. My name is Michelle McCarthy. I am the principal at the Burrell Elementary School. I'll let my colleagues speak.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kate Campbell. I'm the lucky principal at the IGO school.
And hello, class of 2034, Mike Stanton, and I am the principal at the Taylor School.
And I'm Allison Mello. I'm the assistant superintendent. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really hope that we'll bring you a program that's helpful and answers your questions about kindergarten.
So a lot of what we are going to talk about tonight can be found on our incoming kindergarten website. So we are going to reference that as we go through tonight, and Dr. Mello will hopefully be sharing the screen with us. So this is what the site looks like. I'm just going to move over here a second. So if you get to you can get to the site from each of our websites, from the Burrell School, IGO School, or Taylor School, and then just click there where it says incoming kindergarten information. So what I'm going to start with tonight is the medical tab. On this document, right on the top of the medical, there is a document that lists the immunizations that are required by the state of Massachusetts for students to have before they enter kindergarten. We understand that some of you have your child's annual physical schedule between now and August, and you can submit that as you get it throughout the summer. But we would encourage you to, if you have any questions about that, to contact your school nurse. If you scroll down on that page, all of their contact information is on the bottom of that page. I will note that for the Taylor School, it still has Edna Fuller, who just recently retired, listed, and the interim nurse is Donna Jurdak. So again, we encourage you to reach out to the nurses if you have any questions. On that same page, if you scroll down, there's other medical documents on there, including information about allergies. But again, if you had any questions about that, we really encourage you to reach out to the nurses whose names are listed right there on that page. The second tab that I want to point out is the extended day tab. So on the first document on that page, there is information about our extended day program. I do know that the lottery for our before and after school programs was held last week, and letters actually went out on Friday. I was told that everyone who entered the lottery got in. So if you did enter, you should be getting your letter soon if you haven't received it already. If you did not get into the lottery, but that this is something that you're interested in, having your child either come for before school or after school care, at the bottom of that page is the extended day manager's name. Her name is Nancy Martin, and all of her contact information is there as well. So she actually told me, tell people that if they didn't get in, but it's something they're interested in, to please reach out to her. This document that Dr. Mello is showing right now has a lot of just general information about the program. So if you're at all interested, take a look at that. And again, Nancy Martin would be your contact person for that. The next tab that I wanted to point out on the website is the parent questionnaire. So at this time, you should have signed up for your screening appointment using the Sign Up Genius link that was emailed out last month. If you haven't, you can still do that. Just go back and find the link, or contact the secretary at your child's school. But about 1 to 2 weeks before your screening appointment, we ask that you complete this parent questionnaire. This just helps us gather some information about your child's health and background and development. And some of you have already done it, which is great. But if you haven't, there's still plenty of time. I do want to say that some of the items on the questionnaire may ask about skills that your child is not ready for yet. Please don't be concerned about this. This is a questionnaire for an age range. So some of the skills are even difficult for the older children. But again, this information is very helpful for us. A little bit about the screening. The screening is mandated by the state to help us identify students who might require additional support. The screening is not an entrance exam for kindergarten. The only requirement for kindergarten is that your child is 5 by September 1. Instead, the screening really is a tool that gives us some general information about your child. And the information is in 3 different areas. It's in motor, which includes gross motor skills like hopping, jumping, skipping, and then some fine motor skills like cutting and copying shapes. A second section is on concepts, which looks at the child's development in areas such as counting, identifying shapes, identifying colors. And then the final portion of the screening is in language, which assesses some just foundational literacy skills such as rhyming and sounds, as well as the child's articulation skills. The screening, when you come in, they're very small groups, typically like 3 or 4 students coming at a time. They come in with you as their parent. At some point, though, they do separate and go with the teachers to do the screening. I will tell you that it's not like SATs. They're not going in there with a paper and pencil. They'll never even know it's an assessment. There's a lot of running around and jumping and cutting and doing things that are fun for children their age. So again, I think it's, even to say to them, you're going to your new school to play some games with your teachers, just to, to get to see what your new school is going to look like, and not make it anything that would get them nervous at all. So, so again, after the screening, we will provide you with the results. But for the most part, it really is more about us using that information to guide our instruction when we get your child in the classroom in September. Before I move on, I just wanted to see, I don't know, Dr. Mello, if there's any questions about any of the things that I covered so far, or? Okay.
Not yet.
If you have any questions along the way, there is a chat feature in the Zoom, and Dr. Mello will be monitoring that. So feel free to plug that in.
I think it's in the Q&A, actually.
Oh, it's in the Q&A.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So next, we're going to talk about getting ready for kindergarten, and similar to Mrs. McCarthy, a great resource once again is our webpage. And there's a nice video link from Mrs. Culverhouse, one of our kindergarten teachers, as well as, other sort of helpful hints from, different resources. I can tell you, in preparing for this topic tonight, I did Google how best to prepare your child for kindergarten. And in 0.6 of a second, there were about 127 million results. So the great news is there's no one way to prepare your child for kindergarten, but there are some better ways. So to begin with, we're going to start with the end in mind. And once again, on the webpage on the side, we have our kindergarten report card. And this is a nice opportunity for you to see the sort of end of the year benchmarks that we have and expectations. It's a standards-based report card, so it measures progress over time. You can see it has, behaviors that we look for, and then also it touches upon, identifying and being able to uppercase and lowercase and sounds. And in math, it touches upon, counting independently to 100. And we even get into the science and social studies and the writing. So once again, this is a resource we want you to use as a tool to think about with the end in mind, to sort of where your children may end up. Similar, we all know with teaching our children how to walk and talk, it doesn't happen at the same time for all children. So, your classroom teachers will work with you throughout the year to talk about your child's progress. We do have scheduled conferences, and these report cards go home in January and at the end of the year. But at any point in time, you don't have to wait for a conference. You can reach out to your child's teacher, the phone call or an email, and she will be able to provide you some updates. Over the past several years, though, we have noticed some trends with the children coming to us. And probably the biggest impact that we have seen is the impact of technology in the children's lives. Some families, you know, for some children, it's a constant companion. Sometimes it serves as to babysit. You know, and we really ask that families really think about their technology diet for their children. You know, recently we have seen children come to kindergarten with some lagging skills that we didn't have a few years ago. Specifically, we could talk about some fine motor skills where, you know, they just don't have the strength to hold on a pencil, the correct grasp, a lot of swiping because they're not coloring or drawing. So those are some simple things you can do at home. Play-Doh. Also too, we're even seeing some children with weak neck muscles and core strength or lack thereof. And that's what's happening. We're finding, and the research is showing us that children are spending a lot of time looking down at screens. Connected to that as well is actually even social emotional impact and for children, and what the sort of the neuroimaging shows about the human brain and how different pathways are connected or can be impeded by technology. So some of the great news is the number one impact on a child's brain is a parent's emotional availability to their children. So being there for your child. At our school, we really focus on, you know, the whole child. We look at, you know, creating a positive mindset that they can believe that they can achieve. And that starts with something that we call the power of yet. So for example, your child might say, well, I can't ride my bike. But when they add yet to it, it changes the entire mindset. Or I don't have anybody to play with yet. So that's something that we use with reading and writing and math and all the different things that we touch upon throughout our day. Also, you know, look at your child's technology diet right now. Be sure that you connect with your children. You know, find times where you can unplug. You know, it could be board games. It could be walking with them and in the evening with a flashlight, or in the morning and looking at nature around you. In the car, just going for a drive and finding, you know, license plates or letters on signs that go by and singing with them. Also, what is helpful is helping the children learn sort of to delay their gratification, making them wait, embracing and celebrating when they say, I'm bored, there's nothing to do, because that's often the first step to creativity. So, you know, finding that opportunity to really just be creative, leaving out scissors and markers and having them be able to sort of build up that strength and just their imagination. Also, what we find helpful is setting limits. You know, children need limits to grow happy and healthy. At school, we have lots of limits. You know, there's a schedule that comes in, they'll have recess at a certain time and snack. They need to sort of shift from one subject to the next, even if they might be enjoying that. So, you know, having them, giving them warnings, giving them opportunities to think about what may be coming a little prior notice is something that we do in school. At home, it's probably similar for bedtime, finding a structure where they each night they get to read with you. They also get to go to bed, they wake up, there's a nutritious breakfast. It's so important that good habits start early for your children with arriving at school on time and ready to learn. And connected to that, you know, around the house, teach them about their work ethic and being proud of working, you know, helping out with different odd jobs, the laundry, setting the table, also modeling your thinking out loud. If you actually encounter a challenge or a problem, you know, thinking out loud and sharing that, you know, well, what happened there, you know, and realizing and being the model, a positive model for your children. And then finally, something that we encourage families to do is, you know, to focus upon and continue your work on teaching them social skills, how to take turns, sharing, learning how to win and lose, and also just simple things to saying please and thank you. So how best prepare your child for kindergarten? It depends on your child. There's no one way, but please rest assured that the teachers and staff will be ready to welcome you and your children into our schools come September. And next, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Campbell, who will talk about a typical day.
I lucked out, everyone. I get to talk about the best part of this presentation, and actually what a day in the life of a kindergartner here in Foxborough looks like. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the logistics, and then we are going to show one of the best videos I have ever seen of an actual Foxborough kindergarten student telling us what a day in the life is like. But some of the things that we know will come up every year are lunches and buses. So we want parents to know that we take into account when you ride the bus. Our kindergarten friends sit in the front. We do our best to get as close to our kindergartners' driveways. We can't always, but as close to a kindergarten house as we can. We do expect kindergarten parents to be on the receiving end when we drop off at the end of the day. If by chance you are caught in traffic, if by chance something happens and you are not there, we do not want parents to panic, because what will happen, the bus driver will bring the child back to the school that they came from, and they will stay with staff until the parent can come and pick them up. So it happens a very few amount of times, but I just want you to know, if by chance something happened and you weren't there, your child will be safe, but they'll be brought back to the school. When you do get dropped off for the day, our teachers are there to meet the students. As soon as buses or car drop off or walkers come to the school, we have our kindergarten teachers as well as our kindergarten assistants there to meet everybody. And it is such a fun opportunity for the kids from when they walk in the door until they leave. One of our biggest responsibilities for all of our kindergarten students is that they learn to love school, that they learn to want to ride the bus because they are excited to see their teachers and their friends. And that's something that we take seriously, not only as the admin team, but as every staff member who crosses the lives of our kindergarten students. It is our job to make sure that this is where they want to be. We become your second home. So you trust us with your kids from 8:40 until 3 o'clock. And it's our job to take good care of them. And it is our job to love them and nurture them and watch them grow the same way that you do. In the morning, we have community meetings, which is a wonderful opportunity for the staff and the students to really get to know one another and greet each other by name and take that time to really form a community classroom. We do things as schools as well as classrooms, but they start small when they come in as kindergartners, and they really get to know their interests, their likes, things that are important to them, and build up those verbal communication skills in their morning meeting. We do take care of letter formation. We do take care of learning your sight words and how to begin to string words together. All of those academics are there. But as Mike said, we look at the whole child, and recess is a developmental important stage that will happen in kindergarten, and turn taking and working with a partner and sitting in a seat, as well as standing near a table. All of those things that are important to a 5-year-old developmentally are really important to us here in Foxborough. Lunch is something that is important. It's important to the big kids, and it's important to our kindergarten friends. But there is a great link on your kindergarten website information page that gives you information about if you would like your child to buy lunch, what the menu would be, if you are able to apply for free and reduced lunch. All of that information can be found on this great Foxborough website page. If you have any questions, we'll have more information coming as we get closer to the year, but you will pack a snack. You will pack a small healthy snack. You will pack a lunch if you choose to send your child with lunch. They do get to eat lunch in the cafeteria, which is a lot of fun. And it's another opportunity to socialize with their peers as well as the adults and talk about what typical kids would be talking about. So those stages are just as important as the academics for us. So again, there's a lot of information on how to prepay for your child if they're going to be getting lunch, how to do that, what the menu is. But know that there isn't any question that is silly. There isn't any question that we're going to say, oh, they should know that already. Just ask away, especially if you are a new family coming into the kindergarten world. There may be lots and lots of questions to be asking, and that is just fine. Know that when they are here, they are going to have the academics. They're going to have downtime. They're going to be doing a lot with the social emotional growth that is so important about being the citizens that we want to send out into the world. We talk about perseverance, and we talk about optimism, and we talk about grit, and we do talk about the power yet. So all of those skills in building who they are as individuals is just as important as it is to the academic side. But nothing that I can say is as well as Alice explains to us and how she takes us through a typical day in Foxborough. Bring on Alice.
I think I just had to unmute so that to make sure that you could hear it. So I will try one more time, and this should do it.
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm a kindergartner at the Taylor School, and I want to show you around my classroom. So first thing we do in the morning, we sit down at we line up. We first thing at the beginning of the year, we line up, and then we come inside and put our backpacks on our numbered hooks. And then when we get past the next few months, we just walk in by ourselves, and then we usually do our morning work on our scheduled tables. We sit down and we're just doing our work. Then we put everything away, push in our chairs. Then we go over, and we sit on the rug, crisscross applesauce, and we listen to the teacher. Then we do daily 5. Sometimes kids can get out their reading bins, all numbered, and then you put them back in when the chimes ring. You can also do writing, and you can write in your writing folder, all numbered, and you can also sit down and do computers. And then when the chimes ring, you come all the way back to the rug, and you sit down and wait for teacher instructions. Then it's time for math, and you pick out a game to play or something to do. And you're like, 10 take away 7 is, then you get to pick up a dry erase marker and take away 7 on this. You're doing some math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 10 take away 7 is 3. So then when the chimes ring, you erase the board, either with your finger or an eraser. And then you're going to go back to, and then you put everything you used away, back to the rug. Then it is time for lunch. So you line up. The teachers say if you are buying or if you're lunch from home, please line up. They give you hand sanitizer, and then you go out to get your lunch. Get your chair and eat your lunch. Then when lunch is over, you go back inside. Then we go back, sit on the rug. Then we line up to go to our special music, arts, or wellness.
Alice, can you tell us a little bit about the specials that you have as a kindergarten student?
So music. In music, we learn about all the different music notes, lots of new songs, and one that I really like to teach to you all new kindergarten that will be coming this year. And then art, you learn about, you paint different things, and you make maps. You can.
Do you use all different kinds of medium, like for example crayons, crayons, paint?
Yes, that's all we do. We use paint, crayons, markers, tracers.
Colored pencil?
Not colored pencil. We don't use colored pencils in art. And then wellness, you get to play fun games with our wellness teacher, like volleyball, which I played in my last class.
Excellent. What about library?
Library and computers. Now, library and computers, you get to go to the school library and pick out a really fun book. And computers, you get to play any game you want on Starfall.
Starfall is an educational website?
Yes, Starfall is an educational website. I hope you kindergartners all like it. I liked it when I was a kindergartner your age, even though I still am one right now.
Now, what would you say as we finalize our video? What would you say to parents about
I didn't really finish the taking yet.
Okay, you want to give us one more something about the day?
And then our music teacher name is Mrs. Noonan, our art teacher's name is Mrs. Schuster, and the wellness teacher's name is Miss Nathan. And usually after specials, we either have foundations or recess. Foundations is when we learn all the uppercase and lowercase letters.
And the sounds.
Yes, sounds. We do learn sounds too, and foundations. And then we go out to play on our school playground, which my class really likes. We love going out to recess. And after recess, we usually come inside, either have science or snack. And when we have science, we can learn about the sun, we can learn about all kinds of stuff. And then at snack, you just pack a yummy snack and eat that. Then it's usually time to go home. So, out here. So you walk away, you get something by your table. You go. You get your backpack and your coat. And then you bring them all the way back into the classroom, and then the buses get called, and then it's time to go home.
So Alice, do you ride the bus?
I do ride the bus. So buses. Now the buses, there's how many buses are there again?
I think there's like 5.
Okay, so the 5 buses are 20, 4, 18, 22, and 8.
Yes.
And then
What do you find that riding the bus is fun?
very fun. And I want to say to all you new kindergartners that make sure to make a lot of new friends. I have a lot of friends, and I want you to have some too.
Nice. So one final thing to parents. Do you think parents should be looking forward to sending their son or daughter to school?
Yeah, you should tell your parents you should tell your kids that it's going to be okay, even if they miss them. They'll get used to it.
And there's a lot of nice teachers and a lot of nice kids.
There's a lot of nice teachers and a lot of nice kids. It's a really good school.
Yeah.
And I want to teach you a new song and music that I hope you all like.
Okay, go for it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11, 12, 14, then 14, 15. Numbers are the things we like to count.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alice. And you can say goodbye because this is the end of our video.
Bye, I'm Alice Reimer again, and I hope you all enjoy kindergarten.
Thank you. Bye, Alice.
Bye.
I think Alice has a future in
Hi,
broadcasting.
She most definitely does. One of the things that we do want families watching to know is that this was done before COVID. And kindergarten does look a little bit different this year. Some things remain the same. There are smiles behind masks, but all of our students in Foxborough have masks on. And the cafeteria, we don't have round tables. We do have desks. So there are some changes for this year, but the core of what you were able to just see and the excitement of what Alice describes as a day in kindergarten lives true even this year. So it was important for us to show it a kindergarten video in the eyes of a child, because she is right, and that we know, and I'm not sure if she was talking to the parents and the families or to the kids who are going to be missing who. But I know that there will be parents who will miss their kids, and there will be kids who will miss their families. And for both ends, it will be okay. But we really want you to know that, yes, it has looked a little bit different during these COVID times. We will have masks. There are no sharing of materials. The lunches do look different, but the core of what a kindergarten day looks like now still looks like what it looked like before. So if we're open for questions. I know we have about 10 minutes left, 15 minutes left of our presentation. And I'm sure I forgot something, but Mrs. McCarthy or Mr. Stanton or Dr. Mello, or we can take questions.
Well, I was thinking that you might want to give an update on your enrollment at this point, and then we can maybe go to the questions. Would that work?
Sure. I know at the IGO right now, we have 60 kindergarten students registered. There are a couple who are supposed to still be registering. So that would mean that we have 3 kindergarten classrooms slotted for next year. Each classroom does have a full-time educational assistant in the classroom with them. So that's for IGO.
At Burrell right now, as of today, we are at 38 registered, and we will have 2 classrooms next year.
And Taylor School, we have 36 students, and we will also have 2 classrooms.
Okay, we have one question in the chat that's asking about, is there any special programming for students whose primary language at home isn't English and might need additional assistance from the school? So I don't know who wants to take that one.
Sure. So we do have a program, but it's for children that qualify. What we do is we have English language learner teachers at the elementary level, one dedicated just at IGO school due to the numbers there. And then another teacher who works in the 4 other schools in the district. And so for families that may qualify for that based on the information you provide in the questionnaire, in the registration packet, we will conduct a screening. And if a child qualifies for additional services, we would provide it. We also, across all 3 schools, we have reading specialists and math specialists that provide support in the general education setting, meaning they push into the classrooms during the literacy of the math blocks, and they help students that just need a little bit of boost, that are approaching grade level competency, and they just provide a little bit small group, and they work with the classroom teachers. And as Mrs. Campbell said as well, we're very fortunate in Foxborough that we have a second full-time adult in educational assistance, and the classroom teachers do a lot with them as well, targeting students that need a little bit more, whether it's smaller group instruction or even one-on-one time to support academic growth.
Thank you, Mr. Stanton. Question about the screening. I don't know if Mrs. Campbell or Mrs. McCarthy wants to take this one. Will the screening also have the nurse screening part, or will it just be the assessment done by teachers? A parent may have missed that part in the beginning.
We used to have the nurse do screenings along with the teachers, but the information that we now get from the physicals no longer requires that we do that part of it. So it will just be with the teachers.
But all of the nurses in Foxborough are so well versed in their students, and their students, especially if they're medical needs. If your child does have some needed medical supports within the school environment, that would be something that I'm sure you can reach out to the school nurse before the end of this year or over the summer. But please know that the school nurses are so attentive to all of the students' needs.
Great. Actually, related to that, if a student is buying school lunch and has food allergies, how does that work?
So we do have areas where students are what we call nut safe, or where there would be no nuts. I would have to say that the kitchen, I know I was meeting with them today, there is a lot of collaboration that is done about where nut products can and cannot be. In the classroom environments, we are not allowed to have any nut products because those are work environments, but there are sections of the cafeterias in a typical year that would allow nut products to be had, as well as other areas that are nut safe.
Great. Could you please discuss a little bit how restroom visits are handled during the day for kindergartners?
I think we're fortunate enough across all 3 schools that the restrooms are actually in the classrooms. So they do not have to travel. They just let the teacher know. If they happen to be at a special, we also have our educational assistants go to each special. So they'll go to wellness, art, or music, and then they would walk with the child if those rooms do not have a restroom inside of them.
Next question. Do parents and children have an opportunity to meet their teacher before the first day of school?
We typically, I think all 3 of our PTOs run a popsicle play date typically in August. Again, with not sure what the regulations will look like when we get to that part of the summer, but that is one of the chances that we have. Also, the first day of school for grades 1 to 12 is actually the kindergarten orientation day. So on that day, the families come in with the child, and you both have a chance to meet the teacher at that point. And We have a chance for the child to be with the teacher, but we also have a chance for you to have some time separate with the teacher as well.
And I will say during the kindergarten screening, our teachers are a part of that. So they get to meet all the children. The child just won't know exactly who their teacher would be, but we do start to establish those relationships and familiarity.
Next question. If a child doesn't have their annual physical until October, what should the parents do?
I think the parent, you should call your school nurse right away, just to, let them know that so that they know what they're waiting for. And sometimes some of the information is already available and can easily be faxed or scanned and sent to the nurse, and that will just get you through until that next physical.
Great. Next question. Are students playing on the playground? The answer is yes. If so, are classes in the same grade level mixing at recess, or are they kept separate?
Here at the IGO, the kindergarten classrooms, for the most part, are going out by class. Each building is a little bit different. There are times where two classes would go together. Everybody does wash their hands on their way out to the playground. Everybody sanitizes their hands back into the playground. There are some specific guidelines for this year about equipment and what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. But everybody is out at recess. And maybe Mike and Michelle, you can say about the other buildings, but right now for kindergarten at IGO, they are going out by classes.
And due to the campus that we have at the Taylor School, we do have all three classrooms going out at once. In addition to the classroom teachers, the educational assistants are out there. So we have at least 6, if not sometimes more adults out there providing supervision, giving reminders. There are some play structures that the children are not allowed to go on, just due to, for example, the monkey bars crossing. They might say I go on it on the weekend, but during the school hours, it's not allowed. But we do have all of our 3 classes right now. They do go out at the same time.
And can you just add to that how long a recess period is, Mr. Stanton?
Sure, it's 20 minutes.
Great. For schools there's a couple of questions about how we create our classes. So I'm going to combine a couple of questions here. The first one is, does the screening help you determine what teacher a child gets, or is the assignment random? And for schools with multiple K classes, is there a particular way the classes are split?
The groupings that we make, no, the screening, it is a source of information, but it's not how we build the classrooms. We really try to create heterogeneous groups of students, regardless of who the teacher is. All of our teachers are trained in differentiated instruction, in literacy and math. So every one of them can meet the needs of all students. Going back to the original, yes, screening is used to a point, but there is also other factors that we take into account as we place students.
A related question to that, any of you may answer, is this question says, what's the max number of kids per class? But I think, what are we looking at, typical class size?
I think historically it's probably, 16 to up to 23, sometimes 24. If we do hit 25, we do have conversations sometimes, but also too, it depends on what time of year that occurs, the needs within the classroom. Sometimes a class may have 24, 25 students, but each school hosts a district-wide program. So some of those children are not in the classroom the entire time. So it's really a case-by-case basis, but I would say it ranges from about 16 to 24 on the high side. And then once again, 25 seems to be the one where we really have conversations about what we can do to possibly add an additional classroom.
Great. Question about bus transportation. So if you live within a 1-mile radius of the school, you are eligible for bus transportation. And the question is, when do they release the bus schedule? And I can answer the second part of the question. What time does it pick up will vary depending on where the bus stop is. But can you talk, one of you, about the bus schedule and how that is released?
So usually that happens, and Mike and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually it happens toward the end of August. And it will be posted not only in the Sun Chronicle, but also on our website, on all the district website, as well as the school websites.
Yes, and all kindergarten students are eligible for the bus regardless of how far they live from the school. Starting in first grade, yes, if you live within a mile, then you're not eligible, but all of our kindergarten students are eligible for bus transportation.
Oh, thank you for saying that, Mrs. McCarthy. I forgot about that. Um, and another allergy question. If it's not a nut allergy, but something like sesame, soy, or eggs, can students still buy lunch? And can they still buy lunch, or the school lunch only vets for nut allergies?
They can, and if you visit that link once again, it has the menu and the ingredients. And all three schools, our cafeteria managers are wonderful, and Janice Watt she's the director of food services. They literally will work with you. Just reach out to the school office, main office. We will put in touch with them. You know, we have a child here at Taylor School that requires gluten-free. She has a special made lunch for her and everything else. So they do just an exceptional job of working with families and making sure, you know, we take care of their health and well-being.
And we understand that there are lots of different allergies. You know, there are all different allergies. It's not just a nut awareness.
Great. Question about child currently receiving occupational therapy services. Does Foxborough School provide OT in the schools? Does anybody want to talk about our process for that?
I think that there are some students that receive OT or speech language services privately, and sometimes that can transition in a school setting, but there are different degrees as far as a student requiring school-based services, and that's a process. So if it is something that you're concerned about and it's not a student who's currently on an IEP and receiving those services, I would reach out to the building principal because that doesn't always translate to school-based services.
But it is an area in the screening that is looked at with fine motor and gross motor.
Yes.
Correct. When do they find out who their child's teacher is?
Usually we send the letters out around mid-August.
That's exciting. Question about after this meeting, if they have questions, would you say they should reach out to any of you, to the building principal? Last question here is about to the point about how many kids are typically in a class. And I know you're going to speak to the size of our kindergarten classrooms probably, but is there a different number because of the current situation? How safe is it to be in the same classroom with about 20 kids?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think, you know, we have as a district, we work under the CDC guidelines, also the Board of Health. And we have a fantastic nurse team. Jen Rosenberg is our head nurse. So we get the latest information and guidelines and guidance. And part of that, obviously, with the shift of what is occurring in Foxborough and across the country, we've been able to bring our students back full time. But we also maintain certain standards that are put in place. So for example, 3 feet is a minimum. I know at Taylor School, it often is, you know, 5 feet in the classroom. We're able to have that space. In the lunchroom, it is at least 6 feet because the children take their mask off. Every staff member is highly trained, so we look at that piece of it. The children have been absolutely phenomenal. I would tell you probably at the beginning of this year, when we did our virtual town hall, a lot of parents were concerned that children may not wear their mask. We've had 0, I think, across all 3 schools. They've just been fantastic, and the hand sanitizing really helping the adults do what we need to do to keep everybody safe.
I had this question actually come up and I sent a private response, but is there any second language taught in kindergarten? No, Foxborough Public Schools is really proud that we offer world language, which is Spanish, beginning in first grade, but we do not offer it in kindergarten. That's where we are really focused on the foundations of literacy in obviously English language. How long is a kindergarten day from start to end?
Go ahead.
We open the doors at 8:40 this year, and pickup is at dismissal is at 3 o'clock. But during that day, there are a lot of breaks. We know that our kindergarten friends really, you know, we start off the beginning of the year, it could be a 10-minute and we need a transition. There is a lot of movement. There's different places that they're sitting. There's different things that they're doing. So our kindergarten teachers, as Mike had said and Michelle have said, they're experts at what they do, and they know kindergarten language, and they know what a typical kindergartner needs. So although it sounds like a long time, there will be kids who will say, what happened? It went by so fast.
Well,
So
you saw how many times Alice got up and sat down. So I mean,
That's very true. Can parents request children, friends to be placed in the same room?
We do, you know, each of us will send home a letter, an email to families requesting your input about, you know, the type of learning environment that may be best for your child. Within that, you certainly can request, but it's a complex process. And oftentimes, due to different variables and factors, we're not able to do that. So there would be nothing to prevent you. Sometimes I can tell you, even as a parent myself, we actually had a different request, you know, for my daughter's best friends. We didn't want them in the same class because they were such great friends. We wanted to make different friends. So sometimes there's that security blanket feel, but also too, there's opportunity to develop skills of making new friends and enlarging that circle of friends. So once again, I think for all three of us, you certainly can put it in, but please know that we may not be able to honor it just due to the complexity of the entire process.
and I know someone asked a question about twins. We really will look to you as the parent to help us with that, whether together or separate. Typically, as they get older, we encourage the separation, but for kindergarten, we do work with the parent on that.
Great. So we are actually out of time. There's one final question. Is there a mandate for kids to get a COVID vaccine? And I know you mentioned our wonderful nurse, Jen Rosenberg, and how she constantly updates. And at this time, the answer to that question is no. So I don't know if you have any closing thoughts. I think our parents were just amazing participants. We had some shout outs to Alice in the comments and the questions that she's a rock star. And are we sure she's a kindergartner? Maybe she is a teacher. I think she has a future either in teaching or broadcasting. But any final thoughts, any of you?
I think we're just so excited to have you join us, and you know, thank you. Just reach out to us at any point with any questions.
Yeah, and the same. We are looking forward to September so much to meet you and your children. But in the meantime, if anything just pops in your head, please don't hesitate to call us.
Yes, and I would just wrap up by saying, please take the time to go through that kindergarten website. It is a plethora of useful information. As the principal said, please reach out to them. And if you know a friend or neighbor who maybe missed this presentation, this video will be available on the Foxborough Cable Access, and I'm sure the principals will also share it either on their website or blast it out through email. So thank you all for attending, and we can't wait to meet you and your children this fall.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Everyone.
Thank you.